pursue my MS. But I got so homesick that I completed one semester and came back undone. And then I joined Dell India here in Hyderabad as an ETL developer. The first 1.5 years of my journey was into ETL development, and then I moved as a business analyst through an internal job opening within the organization itself. And that was my first exposure to product life cycle, business analysis, user story writing. I mean, you name it, and it was laid in a platter for me at Dell. So from there, my journey has been very exciting because I love interacting with people. I think my love for interaction with people has contributed greatly to my ability to build products because I understand people through my conversations, I understand their pain points. And today I am associated with Value Labs for the last 3.5 years. And I'm a product manager for a company called Shutterfly at Snapfish that makes books in the US, right? So they make certificates, books, customized albums, etc. So if you Google, you'll know what the product is. And so that's my journey so far, and I look forward to build exciting products and solve user problems for the rest of my life, possibly. So that's about me. So I'll hand it off to Pratik then.
Thanks, Maria. So my journey started as a business analyst in the banking domain. Then eventually I moved into the product ownership role in digital asset management at Invesco. Then currently I'm working at S&P Global. Anyone aware about S&P Global as a company? So yeah, S&P Global is the parent company of Standard & Poor's. This is a very important company in the financial domain. So yeah, I think the one word which I can use that associate with product manager the best is empathy. As a product manager, you need to have empathy with different teams, different stakeholders, and most importantly the user, trying to understand the journey and then empathizing with them, what are the pain points from their perspective. Sometimes what happens, we try to focus more on the insights, more on the data and other side, but everything end of the day comes down to user experience, how they feel, and if we can relieve them of their pain points, so that's how we can become a good product manager. All the other things like data, insights, our frameworks, they are just tools to meet the end goal, which is to keep the user happy. And we have very good examples in today's time. Companies like Apple and all, they have been able to keep users very happy. Some people critique the decisions, but whatever they have made, they make sure that the user journey is smooth. I'm giving an example of Apple products. So yeah, that's the journey so far. I'm not as experienced as Maria, but yeah, still learning, trying to learn more. And yeah, never stop learning about domain, about knowledge, any kind of knowledge. Learning can happen from all sources, books, videos, podcasts, anything. So never stop learning at any stage in life. The day you say that I know enough, that's the day your decline will start. So you will reach places, you will reach higher places, but always have a curious mindset and always be open to that. So yeah, we'll talk more. Yeah, that's all for now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yashas and I have a question. Suppose say a student is starting out in a career in the product space after graduation. Say after like 3 to 4 years of experience, with the kind of skills and experience gained, what do you think could be some of the, could be a possible career if the student wants to switch, if the candidate wants to switch, move out of product? What the skills gained with the experience as a product manager, say they want to get into venture capital or private equity or something, what do you think is the scope of that and what are the exit opportunities someone can get after working in product? It's for both of you.
So see, as product management or product manager role is a very diverse role. So if you are in this for 3 to 4 years, definitely your multiple aspects will be, you will grow in very multiple aspects. And then as you say that you want to go into a particular domain like a venture capital or let's say some kind of a fintech or a finance side. So it will, your judgment, the most important thing as a product manager you will learn is what to say yes and what to say no to. Sometimes you have to say no to 90 things for the important 10 things. So that will create a very good decision making ability in you. Then intuition wise you will improve. because of your experience and knowledge gained through the years. Your intuition will grow stronger with time. And so as a PM, what I feel is we have a very clear thought process that if we are strong on intuition, we should go ahead with it. But if we have enough data, we should make sure that we are also giving a weightage to data as an input. So this logical thinking, critical thinking aspects will be very good when you work as a PM for 3 to 4 years. So yeah, and lastly I'll say that any knowledge doesn't go waste. Jeff Bezos has a practice in Amazon where every employee has to work as a customer executive for 2 days. So they all want that everyone should know what the end user is facing. So you can't say that as a customer executive what you will get to learn. So from any side we get to learn. So it's up to you how you put the learning. But I say that just trust the process and just try to, in whichever domain or in whichever company you work, try to gain the 360-degree aspect of everything that you do. That's how you will truly hone your process, and you will get to know your strengths. So about your exit plan, you will get to know, okay, these are my strong things, so which industries I can target, which industries I can avoid. Knowing what not to do is more important than knowing what to do. So you can avoid your time wastage in other things. So yeah, that's all from my side, but you want to add?
You summed it up very well, Pratik. Just to add on to what Pratik said, right? As a product manager, you become a problem solver, right? You're always solving problems in some form or fashion, regardless of which product you're owning, what you're doing, you're actually solving the user's problem, right? So it comes to a point where that comes naturally to you over a period of time. So regardless of all the other skills that you will anyway acquire, you're always becoming a problem solver. And I think that is a skill set that will make you successful to stand your ground in any role that you play, regardless of what your exit opportunity becomes, right? Because after you spend considerable amount of time doing something that you thought you liked, or you still like, or you continue to like, you identify your strengths, your weaknesses, your likes and dislikes in that journey. And I think that itself will set you or establish you on a platform where you have a direction of what to do next, right? You at least know what to do next. Now the skills that come along, like he said very well, right? You know what to say yes to, you know what to say no to, you become a problem solver, you learn to think on your feet, you're a decision maker. So all of that will help you establish your next role very well, right? And then that is it is on each individual to decide which direction they like to go. But regardless, the skills that you acquire as a product manager will set you up for success in any role that you play. It could be delivery management, it could be strategist, it could be anything that you like, venture capitalists, right? Even there you have to know, it's very important to know where you want to put your money in. It's very important to know where you're getting your money back from, right? So all of that, you only acquire, all the skills that you need to succeed is something that you'll acquire from the role that you play as a product manager. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you, that answers.
Yeah, after the exit opportunity question, I want to ask a question about how to get into product management. I would like to ask to Pratik sir, because a lot of time product roles are not available for freshers right out of college. So you started from business analyst and then went on to take up product roles. What else can we do to get into product as a sector? How do we take up roles in product?
So see, there are some options that I will tell you. You can of course go for upskilling through some courses, but as an investment capital intensive option. Other things are you can start learning on your own, starting with free resources on YouTube, like the Product Folks channel, and there are various different resources where they share the case studies and breakdown of different products. Firstly, start learning from the free resources, see if this interests you more or not. Then what I did personally was, firstly I thought that okay, this is something good, and a business analyst work is a very you can say that it's a focused kind of a PM work. It's just like if a PM will be working on, let's say, 10 chairs, a BA will be working only on making one single chair perfect. So the kind of work is similar, but it's just that you grow your level in it. So I started by watching such content online, so with that what happens, you relate. When you see a breakdown of Spotify, when you see a breakdown of Netflix, when you see the pricing strategy, you get to know what the apps you are using, what is happening on the other side of the wall. I started with that. Then the next thing will be to start with the basics. Start reading any good books about product management. There are various books, and it's a one Google search or one LinkedIn search, you can get various books. Invest in that. Learn the basics first. See, so at every level you analyze whether this interests you enough or not. See, this is something, if you're passionate about, you'll definitely work hard and you'll get into it. And that's how you will enjoy the process. But only what I see in today's time is like, oh, they are getting good packages, I want to get in. Don't fall into that trap. See if this is genuinely for you or not. You should see, because it sounds very glittery and luxurious from the outside, but a product manager takes care of many fires also. Anything goes wrong with the product, he's the first person who has to deal with it. So you should be in it for the ups and the downs and the everything. So you will truly enjoy it when you know that you really like it. So then then move to the books part. You learn the basics, right? Then move on to the case studies. You try to create first study case studies and create a few case studies. Then sharing your knowledge on LinkedIn, like whatever you have created, just being active on LinkedIn. That's how, because any company will check your profile first. So you can, visibility, you can increase your visibility by posting such things. Then applying for relevant roles, and if you're already into IT or software, then whatever you're working on currently, try to increase your horizon by requesting, by talking to your manager or your management, that how can I increase more and how can you involve at a greater level. And that's how you will, so see, basically it's like BA does very focused work, then it becomes a PO, which does maybe, like I told you, 10 chairs, a PA is working on 10 chairs, PA will be working on 1 chair, a PO will work on 2-3 chairs and will know about the rest of the chairs. A PM will know entirely from the screw, nuts to the seat, everything of all chairs. So that's how you will increase the horizon. It doesn't happen on day one. If you have the privilege that a company takes you as a APM role directly, which means that you have done a certain level of studies and you have gone into it already. So, so for me, it was a similar journey. I didn't get it out of the college. So yeah, that's all. So as I'm telling you, you increase your horizon, and with your interest, you increase the level you involve into. Then you can start by cold mailing your desired companies. You can start by getting internships is comparatively easy. You can create your case studies, you can create your presentations, share your interest with budding companies, interact and network with more PMs, especially from startups and smaller companies. Because for you, the important is getting entry into it. For initially, don't look at the brand name, don't look for the perks and benefits of it. First, look for the learning. First, you will increase your knowledge. Then you will try to get hands-on. Then eventually, you will try to get into the full-time role. So that's how I did, expanding my horizons and knowledge. So basically, at every level, you will outgrow your current role. Once you outgrow your current role, you will jump on to the next level. So that's the journey. But yeah, be patient about it. And whatever you are doing, do with a full heart and focus on the learning aspects of it. That's all I'll say. But yeah, of course, I am giving a very generic answer. If anyone wants to know one-on-one about a particular scenario, particular industry, definitely we can go into more detail and analyze it more further. And that's how I can guide you more. But yeah, generically, this is the process which I follow.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Could you elaborate on the importance of user data and metrics as a product manager, and what are various ways to obtain this user data?
Sure. So, user data, right, is basically the foundation of creating a successful product is identifying who you're solving the problem for, right? And that you'll be able to do that only by appropriate research. And research is a very broad spectrum, it's a very broad spectrum. Research there is no timeline for research, right? We are forced to timeline research because there are other elements that we have to focus on to build the product. But research can be an ongoing process forever because the world changes every millisecond, right? Something about people, something about time, something about everything is changing, right? And it's a very broad spectrum. So collecting user data firstly falls under research, right? Market research. It could be market research, it could be user research, it could be competitor research. Now again, research is classified based on your objective, right? Say suppose you're building a product, like a wearable product, right? Who are you building that product for? So that is segmenting your market, like identifying who you're designing the wearable for. So that becomes one part of your data, right? Identifying who. Then identifying what you're building the product for. Is it like health information? Or is it like what can you track today on your wearables, right? It can be your emails, like what are you building it for? A wearable can track a number of things, but you cannot build everything. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? It'll take time. So identifying what you want to build, that's another kind of a data, right? Then how do you want to build it, right? That is another kind of research that you have to do, because not all resources will be available to you to build anything that you dream of building, right? So there are various kinds of data that you as a product manager have to be smart enough to identify to align with the objective of your product or the service that you're building. And what was the other half of your question? I'm sorry?
How do you obtain this data?
How do you obtain this data, right? So there are various methods that you can do it. Now that is called types of research. So you can do surveys, you can send out questionnaires, you can do brainstorming with the target audience. Like say suppose you're designing wearables for athletes, right? So the first thing that you do is go talk to athletes, right? You have to identify a segment that you want to tap and engage with them to understand if the product that you're building is worth building at all, right? So there are different ways you can do it. You can brainstorm. You can get into focus groups like successful athletes. Like what does it take for an athlete to be a successful athlete? So you talk to successful athletes to identify their daily activities, what motivates them to do stuff, and then probably get some insight out of it to generalize it to the other athletes to motivate them to get there, right? So you have to segment your data and then understand how to collect the data. You perform these various. It can be very simple, right? You can sit and talk to me and say, I think I'm building a wearable technology. Would you be interested in using that? That itself becomes a form of survey that you're doing, or an interview, right? You can sit and engage with it. So that's how you gather data. It will depend on what you're building and how you want to build it, right? I hope that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You like to add something?
Yeah, hi, good evening. My name is Abhijit, I'm from EM department. I have a question. Can you please share the challenges you faced during driving the growth and how did you tackle them? About the case study, small case study kind of thing. Can you please share?
The challenges as a PM, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, what are the challenges we faced as PMs during our growth?
Yeah.
Okay. So I can say we've grown already as product managers, we're still growing, that's number one. And number two, challenges are identifying what you want to build, right? Identifying a problem. For me, I think that is the biggest challenge I face, right? Today, everything has a solution. Like you talk about phones, there's so many phones. And if I'm intending to build a phone, what do I want to build differently from what exists today, right? Research is a huge problem that I face because it is a very abstract effort, and where to start, where to end is a constant battle a product manager has to deal with. Because when you start, or you stop, or you continue, you have to continuously back it up with facts, figures of why, how, when, where, what, right? You constantly ask those questions. So I think that is the challenge that I face, I have always faced, and I still face in my role today as well. Because when I'm proposing a product, even before I get to the idea, one is the fear of being ridiculed for the idea, which I don't think should exist, right? Because every idea could make somebody's life better. But is it worth doing is a constant evaluation challenge that I face personally. Okay? And I'm still learning how to get out of it. Right? So I think, would you like to add something? That's my challenge, honestly.
I have not seen so many challenges yet to consider, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Abhishek, yeah.
So, hello ma'am, hello sir. So I had a question. Like while launching products, should you prioritize speed or efficiency?
So first is to get the basics right, because before everything we talk about is MVP. Firstly, knowing what we are trying to solve and how we are planning to do it. Then we should focus on efficiency. Then once our product takes up, then we can try to optimize the speed. Because delivering a bare minimum thing, but which adds value to a user, is very much useful than delivering a very fancy thing which adds a very little value to the end user. And trying to do little bit of everything doesn't work well. Paytm. So it's better that you do little bit, but you do it in a perfect manner. So you can do a very good case study on how Paytm goes wrong, because one thing which I personally feel is, when we go to Paytm, I use Paytm for electricity bill and railway booking. But whenever I go to Paytm, I have to always search for these icons. The least they could do is, whatever the user is using frequently, they can put those on the top, right? A very basic addition. But if they would have done this, people would keep coming back again and again. So, so what you are doing, first you focus on that and then doing it right. And then focusing on the efficiency, then the speed will come. You want?
No, I think you summed it up very well. Did that answer your question?
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir.
Oh, yeah.
My question would be that you basically told us that there are certain problems that as well arise with like being a product manager, or I should say, not problems but challenges that we have to solve within like the scope of in the process of development, in the process of the journey of a product life cycle itself. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so just to rephrase your question, right? You're talking of the various challenges that exist through the life cycle and not just during the development? Can you
Like various challenges that we face by performing the role of a product manager.
Okay. So,
apart from the one that you previously discussed.
Sure. So conflict management is another major challenge that a product manager has to deal with, right? Because product managers work with various stakeholders, right? You work with your clients who will give you the requirements, or your business stakeholders from where you get your requirements. You have your users whom you're ultimately solving the problem for. But in between all of this, there is a team that you deal with, right? The team has varied personalities, people who have different working styles or different mindsets. They could be looking at the same thing from a different perspective, right? And where people exist, there is bound to be conflict, right? And conflict in a positive sense, like everybody is striving to achieve success ultimately for the product, right? So how do you keep everybody happy, right? While you cannot disengage with somebody, you cannot disappoint somebody. So conflict management is a challenge that will exist throughout, right? You have to keep your development team happy. You have to keep your quality assurance teams happy. You have to keep your client stakeholders happy. You have to stay happy as a product manager to keep everybody happy, right? Conflict management and negotiation are two other challenges that will exist throughout the life cycle of a product.
Ma'am, on the points that you mentioned, among all the various stakeholders that you listed, ideally we would want all of them to be happy, but when push comes to shove, which one of them would you prioritize, ma'am?
To keep happy?
Yes, ma'am.
I think myself. No, I'm just kidding. So definitely the product manager is a big part of the stakeholder list, right? But just on a lighter note. But